I had all the trappings of success. And out of the blue came the first of 3 strokes in 24 hours. One thing I did not do, AJ, was I didn't ask God, why me? Thank God, why me? Why me?
You are now locked in for the Comeback Kings podcast. Let's go!
Oh, yes, Kings, it's time to get active with today's episode of the Comeback Kings podcast, our virtual man cave where we talk real about the challenges that men face, and we interview men who faced adversity head on and come back stronger than ever. I am your host, Aaron James, and today I can't wait for you to hear this King story. But first, the Comeback Kings is not just a podcast. It is a complete movement that we got going on here. Here's something that we designed with you in mind. Check it out. Don't forget, the conversation continues inside the CBK mobile app. This is the premier community for content, conversations, and resources, all built to help our Kings get back on track. Inside the app, you'll get exclusive after-show clips, direct access to podcast guests, and insider interviews with industry experts on everything from health and wealth to relationships and spirituality. You'll also unlock member-only deals designed for the needs of real men, plus tools and training to fuel your personal comeback. Come network with fellow Kings from around the world and be a part of the global movement, helping men rise from setbacks and rebuild a life that they're proud of, with purpose, strength, and community. Join the movement now. Download the free Comeback Kings mobile app at cbknetwork.com. All right, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let me introduce today's guest. Terrance Miracle Minnoy is an internationally recognized inspirational speaker, resilient leadership strategist, and author. He's certified by the Les Brown Institute and the Center for Executive Coaching. His speaking has been described as electrifying and thought-provoking, and I just got to tell you, he helps leaders thrive through change and adversity by emphasizing the power of self-mastery and emotional resilience, which we talk a lot about here. So, he's got a successful career in sales, leadership, entrepreneurship, and athletics. Terrance empowers others to unlock their highest human potential and set their miracle in motion. King Terrance Miracle Minnoy, I'm honored to have you with us here on the show today, sir. How you doing, man?
Hey, AJ, I'm honored that you even requested me to be on the show, man, and excited to share with the audience things that I have going on in my life, and hopefully it can be of a benefit to those out there in your audience as well, brother.
Yes, sir, man. Excited to have you. Thank you for being here. So, yeah, let's just jump right into it, man. Obviously, you're very successful in what you've got going on in your day job and in your career and in your speaking. For those that have not heard of you before, why don't you just kind of give us a little bit of a background of what you are up to and what you're excited about moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, AJ. So I'm Terrance Minnoy, and some people know me as Terrance Miracle Minnoy, and we'll talk about that at some other point, why that is. But a lot of exciting things going on in my life right now. Just a little background on me. Grew up on the east side of Bakersfield, California, man, and just came up as a young athlete with dreams and goals and wishes that I wanted to, to kind of have my life at another level. I was surrounded by a lot of the things that, you probably grew up around as well. And but I was lucky, man. I was blessed to have some athletic ability. Went on to college and started a corporate career after that. After athletics was done and all of that. And just started working my way up the corporate ladder in biotech sales. I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. And, but there's just some things that happened in my life that have caused me to maybe take a little pivot and start a brand, start a business of speaking and coaching, wrote a book, so forth and so on. And now I'm just trying to speak across the country, sharing with different audiences of different ways for them to exude their resilience as well in life. And I've got a lot of things that are happening right now, a lot of speaking engagements coming up, and just excited to share on any platform of what's happening in my life right now. So again, man, just excited to be on your show as well. Thank you.
Well, okay, so I got to know. So if you say athletics on this show, people are going to say, Tell me more. So what kind of athletics? Football,
So
swimming,
basketball.
basketball, hooping. Okay.
I was hooping, but even though I'm built like a football player, so I always get that. Did you play football? And I go, no, I play basketball, man. I was blessed enough in high school to be a decent player. I got a Division I scholarship. I went to Idaho State University, played ball there, and ended up finishing my career at a smaller college. But I played point guard and shooting guard, man. I was decent, man. I wasn't wonderful, but I was a decent player in basketball. Right now, man, actually, it's funny. About 20 years ago, I started refereeing basketball and went into college basketball as well. So from Division I, Division II, junior college, I actually referee college basketball to this day. So that's my athletic background.
Well, listen, I will tell you, you know, I'm very impressed that you would be straight up and transparent with us, because that was your time to shine right there. You could have said, "Oh, nice," and nobody would have known, man. Nobody would have said,
That is true, because I am old enough where you I don't know if you can find the footage, so
That's
I could have said anything.
oh, there was no YouTube. There was none of that growing up. So
Absolutely, bro.
okay.
Absolutely.
So you got the sports background, and what did you say, 20 plus years in medical sales? Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In biotech still.
What's with that? Like, what do you do?
So what I do is, of course, I started out in pharma sales. So basically, I have a product or products that I promote to doctors. I have an assigned territory. I have an assigned number of accounts that I have in my territory. And I just would talk about my drug, and I will go see them. Hopefully they write the drug for the appropriate patient in their practice. From there, I moved on to market vaccines, to HIV medications, to now I promote a drug for severe asthma. So just really going and talking to my providers, allergists, pulmonologists, man, doing what I do, having a territory, kind of building my life around that. Very flexible career, very rewarding career. And yeah, man, I'm excited to not only, like I said, help people in this genre, in this arena, but also, with my corporate career as well, just being there, having the opportunity to save lives and help people live better.
Hey, let's go, man. Good for you. 20 years, man. Listen, people don't do that these days.
No, they don't.
Not with the same company. Is it 20 years with the same company?
Two companies, man. I one company 15 years, and then the last 4 or 5 years with another company. But let me tell you this, it's funny. Hopefully somebody can take something away from this as far as not burning bridges, doing everything to be excellent as a default for them. What I mean is it's always being excellent. So the person that hired me into the pharma industry in 2006, we worked together for about 4 years. We had a great relationship. We would keep in contact over the years as he moved on to other companies. But when this other company 4 years ago, so we're talking 15 years pretty much later, 11 years later, after we started working together, he called me about another opportunity he was building with this particular company that I'm with right now. And that just, of course I came over, and income improved. It got better. Everything even got even to the next level, all because, I didn't burn bridges before. You get what I'm saying? I kept the friendship going and things like that. Yeah, man, I'm in a great place right now.
Yeah. Well, so you got the good job, you got the hoops background, and you said you're speaking as well, and you have a book.
Yeah.
Tell us about.
So about 10, I want to say about 6, 7, 8 years ago, I started speaking on a part-time basis, and it's still pretty much part-time right now. And I did that for a reason. And again, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I started a brand, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And I finally developed a platform to do it. And I launched Miracle Minnoy Motivation several years ago. Now, some people would give me a hard time about saying miracle. Well, it's not something a name I gave myself. There's people calling me a walking miracle all the time. Therefore, I just started the brand, Miracle Minnoy Motivation. And so with that, man, I speak to audiences all across the country, large and small, mainly in a corporate setting, some in professional association setting as well, and some in education. It just depends. But I mainly really focus on that maybe that corporate audience, a little mix of corporate and professional associations where kind of I found my landing spot, my sweet spot for me.
Nice. So the brand is Miracle Minnoy Motivation, and you're speaking and you wrote a book. Now, are these two separate things or are they together or?
Yeah. So these were two separate things in the sense of from the story that he in, we'll get into a little bit, is that I felt that I had some things on my chest or on my heart, I should say, that I wanted to share. Even before I became a speaker, even before I said, one day I'll do this, one day I'll write a book, one day I'll be a speaker. Then once something happens in your life and says, you may want to get to that sooner than later. And so that is what kind of pushed me, this pain point, right? Kind of pushed me out there to go, you know what? I better start pursuing my dreams, my goals, things that I probably want to start doing that sooner than later. And so therefore I launched the brand Miracle Minnoy Motivation.
Okay. And what's the name of the book?
It's called Indifferent Strokes. So not different strokes, indifferent strokes. And we'll get into that, why it's called Indifferent Strokes in a second, I'm sure.
Okay, man. So you got a lot going on right now. God is good. Yes.
God is very good, man. And let me tell you, there's something about pursuing excellence in all areas of our lives, not just, one thing. And I've been blessed to be in that place over the last several years, man, with a great career, a nice business that I'm building. I'm not trying to, run up the score just like that, just kind of at my own pace, making that happen. Physically, I feel great as well. Spiritually, I'm in a great place. I think it's just a matter of all of us, man, finding that, that groove for us, that rhythm. I'm in a great rhythm right now. There you go, AJ. I'm just in a great rhythm right now. And I think that I can share a few things that'll probably help some folks out there in the audience.
Hey, man, I love to hear that. Yeah, rhythm is a beautiful place to be. I think that's what everybody strives for. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. But I also know that, you've alluded to this a couple of times, that maybe there was a time in your life where the wasn't flowing the way you wanted it to. So we're going to get into kind of what happened to you previously that kind of, put you on your comeback journey right after this.
Yes, sir.
All right, fellas, listen up. I'm about to let you in on a little secret that could save you thousands of dollars every single year. Why keep spending big money every month just to watch your favorite shows and sports, especially when there's Renegade TV? I used to pay monthly for YouTube TV, Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, and because I couldn't catch my favorite teams locally, I had to drop even more money on NFL Sunday Tickets, NBA League Pass, MLB TV. It was sickening. Then I found Renegade TV. One device, one low price, and you get live access to every major sports league, NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, you name it, you got it. You also get all the newest releases and thousands of movies and shows on demand. No subscriptions, no monthly fees, no hidden fees. Just one setup and you're set. So now I'm saving hundreds of dollars every month and easily thousands every single year. So go to streamrenegadetv.com and use code CBK2025 to save $50 at checkout. All right, we are back with Terrance Miracle Minnoy, and we've been talking about all the good stuff. We're talking about all of the good stuff. Let's talk about the setback. So you mentioned earlier that you are in a rhythm right now. And ideally, we'd love for that rhythm to just flow on forever and ever and ever. But we all know that, things happen from time to time. So take us back, Terrance. Help us or paint a picture for what happened for you and what kind of set you on this comeback journey.
Let me start here. In 2015, out of nowhere, on a beautiful day in Southern California, working my great corporate America job, money in the bank, nice house, you name it. I had all the trappings of success. And out of the blue came the first of 3 strokes in 24 hours. So sunny day in Los Angeles working, 24 hours later in a hospital because a blood clot actually hit me in my brain stem. Then it actually moved a couple times over the hours, which gave me 3 episodes of a stroke. But let me go back even before that. We know a stroke is, they call it a brain attack. But AJ, what I realized is that I actually had strokes prior to that. I had other sort of attacks in my life, and some of them were self-inflicted. And since I just think it's appropriate on the Comeback Kings here that I mentioned that at the age of, here I was this high school athlete, people liked me, things like that. I was successful. I was well known as a jock, but I was student body president. I was doing some great things in high school, but I had a child at the age of 17. I'm considered that a stroke. I had another child in the age of 20. I'll consider that a stroke. There's a whole story that comes there. So I said all that to say that the strokes that happened prior to the actual stroke in 2015, I feel prepared me to handle some of the things that I dealt with in 2015. So in 2015, I had 3 strokes in 24 hours. The doctor said that where the clot actually hit me in the first place, if it had stayed there, AJ, that I would be paralyzed or dead. So luckily it moved, or what she calls it, she said it broke up, and we'll get to that in a second. But because of that, as severe as the stroke was, I was able to slowly bounce back. So it took me about a year, it took me about a month or 2 to start walking again. It took me maybe another month or so to really have my balance and deal with some issues that come along with having some type of brain injury. I was out of work for about a year. And then I went back and just slowly started catching my groove of getting my life back to, quote unquote, a new normal. And from there, man, God kind of took it from there. I mean, obviously it was involved in the first place, but the trajectory of my life has been up and to the right and then some ever since this major setback. So some of my friends tease me. They go, everything you talk about now starts with the stroke, whether I'm posting something or this and that. And I say it for a reason, because I'm so thankful to the man above for this episode and bringing me through. And I feel that I would be doing him a disservice if I didn't share how this has been a blessing to my life, not just physically, the comeback being physical, right? But how it has blessed every aspect of my life. So when I coach people, yes, sometimes they want to be coached to win, whether it's corporate, whether it's health, things like that. But I help people win in multiple areas because this stroke has just synthesized some thoughts, some practices that have helped me help a lot of people in every area of their life, not just one. And I just want you to be a great total person, right? Not just in one area. So that's my story. That's my background. And obviously people can go online and see videos of it and so forth and so on. I took videos, AJ.
We're going to go through that right now. They won't need to necessarily go to further research, because I want to break this down, because what is that, 10 years ago, right? So
yes,
when you share it now, you share it from a position of, and I'm so thankful that happened. I'm so thankful for everything that happened after that. But when you're going through it, I imagine it's way different. So I want to start from the beginning, if you don't mind. And what I promised to everybody that I've talked to this podcast about is that we're not going to leave anything on the table. Okay. So no fluff. We're going deep. Like I'm not trying to just hear the surface. I want to know everything that was going on. So I've got some questions for you, if you don't mind. And then you can just kind of take it from there. But my first thing is, so 2015. So how old were you at the time?
I was only 44 years old at that time.
44 years old. And a massive stroke, or 3 strokes. So you paint the picture of the day. Let's go a little deeper onto that. What were you doing? What happened? And yeah, just take us through that day.
And yes, sir. Definitely. So, and when I say 3 strokes, for those who, there's different levels of a stroke. It's going to start out, if a person has a stroke, usually they have what's called a TIA first, which is a transient ischemic attack. It's a small stroke known as a warning stroke. And a lot of times that stroke will happen and it'll be somebody will get blurry vision out of the blue, but then it'll come back. Somebody will have arm weakness or slurred feet and it'll come back. For me, I had one of those episodes, but I didn't recognize it at that time. So I didn't go to the hospital right at the time. So if that ever does happen to you, go see a doctor right away. Right. That's one.
Okay.
The next 2 was when I was at home thinking, things was okay. I just need to lay down. Then that's when that one happened.
Need to cut you off just for clarity. So so the first stroke happened, you're still talking about the same day, right? All these.
Yeah.
Okay. So where were you when the first one happened?
Okay. That's great. So yeah, working this great corporate job, beautiful day in Southern California, got my workout in at the gym. I was meeting a girlfriend of mine at a mall for her. I was to work and I did that. Luckily there was a chair nearby. I sat down and, I just felt weird, but then it kind of cleared up a little bit. And as the evening went on, there are different little episodes that would happen to tell me that my vision wasn't right. And let me tell you, there's something that's funny. As you know, when you go eat with a young lady, a lot of times your last bite, you're going to give it to you offer it to them, right? As a gentleman, here's my last piece of chicken or whatever, right? And so I can remember doing this with this young lady and you give my last piece of chicken. She said, "That's not your last piece." I said, "What do you mean? This is my last piece." She said, "No, it's one right there." It was run right there to the right of that piece. Now here's the deal. I didn't know, AJ, but that that TIA caused was a blind spot in my right eye, and I still have it to this day. A blind spot. So I go through the evening, and the next morning when I wake up, AJ, I'm like, my eye is still acting funny. So I need to go see an eye doctor. So I went to an eye doctor. I drove 1 hour from Los Angeles, Sherman Oaks, I should say, to Bakersfield, California. And I went to an eye doctor. The eye doctor got me in. He said, "Terrance, your vision looks fine." He said, "Your vision looks fine." He said, "If I were you, I would get a CAT scan or MRI. So, and then and to see if something is going on in your brain." I said, "Hey, no problem. I'll do it in a couple of weeks. No problem." I figured I would just wait. Well, it was that night, AJ. That night, the stroke happened. EMTs came and got me, took me to the hospital. Luckily, my son was at my house. We can get into that story because there's a miracle that even happened, that he was able to call the EMTs. They got me to the hospital, urgent care. They're looking me over, and guess what? The clock moves again. I have another stroke, and that just debilitated everything on the left side of my body. My speech was slurred. Just everything was just a wreck from there. And I actually thought at that moment, man, this is it. I'm about to die. And that's kind of how everything happened. And from there, I was in ICU for a couple of weeks and went to rehab and so forth and so on. But those 24 hours, there's so many things that happened during that day. I think something that's interesting that happened that day that your audience would be interested in. When I was in Los Angeles, having this beautiful, wonderful day, I made a post that day. I made a post on Facebook. I actually heard a rap song, and it was Pusha T and Kanye or something. I forgot the name of the song, but Pusha T's line in that song he said, "Ask Steve Jobs, wealth doesn't buy you health." And I actually posted that, AJ, and I said, wow, through all the bravado, there's some wisdom that comes through rap, right? Not knowing that within 24 hours after chasing wealth, I would be in a hospital fighting for my life with a massive stroke. And so I like sharing that with the audience since I actually have the post that I show on screen to show the actual fact that I made that post that day, but yet within 12 hours, 15 hours, I was in the hospital fighting for my life, man. And so,
Man.
in one chapter of my book, I call it The Universe Talks to You. And I just feel like there are certain things that happen in our lives sometimes that uh, that happen prior that kind of gives a hint to what can happen or what will be later on. I'm sure you had those things. Some people call it deja vu, whatever it may be. But there's so many things like that that happened that day and the several weeks after.
So did you lose consciousness at all during this period of time?
One time I did. So when the third stroke, when it moved again, I blacked out, but I can still hear, AJ. So here I was in a fetal position. I could feel my body contort on this hospital bed and I could hear stuff, but I couldn't say anything. But at the time, my girlfriend, I heard her screaming at the nurse to help me because she was witnessing this happening. And all I can hear was, and this is what you want if you ever go to the hospital, you want a calm nurse, a calm doctor, right? This nurse said to her, hey, just calm down, was trying to just calm her down and giving her assurance that everything was going to be okay. So I actually hear their conversation, but I couldn't react to it or anything like that. I blacked out. Next thing you know, I woke up, like say an hour or two later in ICU.
And you said your son is the one that called the ambulance or called the EMT. So how'd that thing all take place?
Universe sometimes talks to us. My son at that time was 24, 28 years old, something like that. He's a good kid, young man trying to find his way in life, made some bad choices, ended up being incarcerated for a few months. Now, keep in mind, he had never lived with me ever his entire life. Never lived with me. We're cool, we're close, but he just separate households, so forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
When he was getting ready to get out, he gave me a call. He said, Dad, can I come stay with you? Until I just get back on my feet. AJ had plenty of space, plenty of room. He definitely could do that. I said, yeah, sure you could. No problem. And this happened when he had been at my house maybe 2 or 3 weeks when the strokes happened. What I'm saying is, had he not been there, I would have been on the floor, not being able to get to a phone all by myself. And when you have a stroke, it's all about timing. You got to get some help like ASAP. The longer it takes, the worse off you're probably going to be. So luckily, man, and keep in mind, when I went home after that eye doctor appointment and laid down in bed, I didn't know if he was home. I didn't see his car. I didn't know if he was in his room or not. I know I just went to my room and laid down. And when this happened, I called his name, Devin. I just yelled, and luckily, man, he came running in and saw me on the ground. So the fact that here it is, my son had never lived with me ever full time, but he just so happened to be with me during this time, I think is an absolute miracle. I think it was God's provision. And I definitely know there was the higher power was involved in this situation, bro, because he's never lived with me ever. But yet when he comes, he happens to be there to basically save my life, really. And so I'm so thankful to him, man. I call him my hero to this day. He just plays it down. I do.
Man, that's crazy. So now you're in the hospital. You just had the third stroke. At what point in time, like, were you understanding of everything that was going on while you were in there? Yeah, I know you say you could hear the doctors. At this point in time, do you know you were having strokes?
Yes. When they came in and told me that's what happened, of course I couldn't believe it. But yeah, so I was blessed to, again, stroke affects people differently and people can have different types of stroke. I had what's called an ischemic stroke, and therefore that's about 60 to 70% of the time people have an ischemic stroke. Some people have what they call hemorrhage stroke, right? Where they actually have a blood clot that actually burst in their brain. They call it a bleeder. And sometimes that affects people even worse. So and ischemic, all strokes can totally debilitate you. But luckily for me, I'm going to say I had the ischemic attack. I had an ischemic stroke. So I said all that to say I never lost consciousness in the sense of I never knew what was going on in my life. I wasn't in a coma or anything like that. I was just basically debilitated. The left side of my body, I was debilitated. I couldn't move anything on the left side of my body. My hands, my fingers, my feet, my leg, nothing. And this horrible blind spot that was even worse at that time. My speech was heavily slurred at that time. And one of my eyes was going somewhere else that I thought would maybe permanent at that time. So after the third stroke, I knew once they told me, I knew everything that was happening. And I was just wondering, like, how did this happen to me? And so kind of went from there when it comes to that.
I've heard people with strokes. I've had family members that have had strokes. And as you mentioned, every experience with it is different, right? And, the outcome of it as well. What were you thinking? What were you feeling inside when this is happening to you, right? You say, how is this happening to me? I mean, by all accounts, athlete, a successful business, career guy. Now, all of a sudden, you're laid up in a hospital bed. Got to be mind altering at that point in time, I'm assuming? Or maybe is that an understatement?
Yeah, it's definitely an understatement. Because even prior to that, AJ, again, I worked out on a regular basis. I don't think I, was eating horribly. I probably wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't horrible at all. So this is what surprised, family, friends, and everybody. One thing I did not do, AJ, was I didn't ask God, why me? Thank God, why me? Why me? And I think one of the reasons why I did that is because personal growth, personal development that I was involved in years prior I always had, church or God is, in my life. I say, God, if this is, your will, and if you have more for me, that's fine. You want me to do, I don't want it though, but I'm not going to blame. But because of the personal growth, personal development, things that I learned over the years, I didn't abandon all of those messages that I used to hear. So here's the deal, AJ. A lot of times we get into a negative situation and we totally forget all the things that have been poured into us prior to that, the positive messaging that has been poured into us. And we abandon the ship when things go bad. I feel that I feel like somebody is listening to this podcast right now. It's not for necessarily now. They may be dealing with something, hopefully, that you and I can share that's going to bless them and help them. But it's for when things do go left, when things don't taste good, when things don't feel good in your life, those disruptions that we have in our life. Hopefully we say something that person can lean on to go, you know what, I'm going to do this because this is what I heard. And that's kind of what I did when I went through the strokes. I said, I'm not going to abandon, first of all, I'm not going to abandon God, right? I'm not going to blame him and this and that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do the why, woe is me thing. Did I feel horrible? Of course I did. But I did the best I could to think about, hearing something Jim Rohn said to us years ago about, the same wind blows on us all. It's all about how you set your sail. Things Les Brown would say. Things I heard from Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, books that I read, all of those messages. I told myself, man, I didn't want to abandon all of that stuff because because I was involved in a business where I did speak in front of the room all the time and I would drop some of these nuggets. But they're easy to drop those nuggets when life is great and dandy. But what do you do with them when you actually go through a trial, go through some type of disruption? And that's where I was. So as I laid in the hospital bed, I really just thought about what's in this for me. How can I grow from this situation? How can I bounce back physically? Now, there are some things that started happening in my life, or happening about 2 weeks after the stroke, that kind of gave me a sign that I think I can get through this. And that's just because different things started to work again, little by little. Man. I can remember, AJ, being in the hospital and being able to move my pinky toe, my left pinky toe, just barely move it. And I was so excited. I text a group of friends like at 3, 4 in the morning. Man, I can move my toe. Man, because I had what's called drop foot. And those who had a stroke before and know someone who's had a stroke, it's basically your limbs it just drops. And they have to put an apparatus on it to keep it up and things like that. And because you can't move anything. But man, just being able to move it just probably a half a centimeter, man, gave me so much hope, brother. And that is where things started getting better and better in the sense of me starting to be able to move things and nerves starting to come back and find different pathways. And I learned all of that stuff just from the doctors coming in and talking to me about what can happen. And so, yeah, man. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I can go on that, bro.
Well, that's clearly something that's positive. You know, when you're on your comeback journey, obviously you need to have little wins, right? You need to have little victories to kind of get your mind going again. So
yes.
What I'm hearing from this is that there was a function of this where you were learning how to operate as a normal human being again. So was that walking, talking? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah. I can remember my first day. So I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then they sent me to a rehabilitation center, occupational rehabilitation center. And I can remember my first session in this center, and I was sitting down on a chair that had me and maybe 5 other people who had strokes or whatever type of brain injury. And the first thing they asked us to do as we were sitting down was to raise your left leg, or to raise your left leg. That's what they said. And AJ, I couldn't do it. I mean, as much as I was trying to tell my brain to move my left leg, I could not do that. I was a little discouraged, but deep inside, I felt like I can get to that point. I can get to that. Each day they put you through therapy, and each day, little by little, just things would just start working again. And I can remember doing that same exercise maybe a week later, and being able to just go up on, here I am sitting down, but just to be able to raise my heel off the floor. And then eventually start being able to get my foot a little bit off the floor. All these little wins, these small wins just started stacking up. And even though I wasn't ready to walk on my own just yet, these small wins that I stacked up gave me insight or an idea or encouragement, right? That I can possibly make it back. And, at that time, AJ, I would try to find YouTube videos of people coming back. And I did see those, but I didn't see any African Americans. I didn't see it. I didn't see too many African Americans who had strokes, kind of like I did, and that actually really just bounced back. Maybe I just missed them. I don't know. I definitely wanted to be one of those guys. And that's why I recorded a lot of my therapy, took a lot of pictures, things like that, because I was hoping in my mind, hey, one day I'm going to come back and I want to make sure I'll be able to share the story with other people on YouTube and wherever else so they can be encouraged as well, man. But again, I started stacking small wins physically, and that definitely helped me mentally as far as knowing that I can make this happen if it was God's will, for sure.
Brother, that's crazy. And I will tell you that, at least from my experience or what I've seen, people don't document the journey unless they're planning on coming out the other side. Right. And so that's wonderful to hear. And I always hear it said that it's those that have, that their mental is right, that are able to get through some of the most excruciating illnesses and injuries. And I got to believe that your mental capacity and just where you were with your emotional resilience and just, for lack of a better word, it's clear that you had said my story's not over, and you're not only going to come back, but you are going to be the example for those that you didn't have when you were going through it.
And again, AJ, thank you for all of that. Thank you for those kind words, man. You're absolutely right. And I believe that I felt that way because of what was poured into me as a youth from my mother, from church, growing up in the church, but also, again, being associated with people, with programs, with companies that promoted self-awareness, personal development, personal growth. So I had those things in my brain. I had those things in my surroundings at all times. So that when something went bad, I leaned on it versus panicking per se. No, again, I was shocked as hell. Don't get me wrong. I was afraid as well. But at the same time, I did think about those things. I thought about my mother. I thought about my church. I thought about my friends and associations and things like that, and the things that I read and learned. And I thought about strokes that I've had have happened prior to that. You know, being a teenage father, growing up in poverty, a number of other bad choices that I made as a youth but yet I came out on the other side. I thought about all of that as well. And I think that is what helped develop my mindset as I laid in the hospital bed to practice those things. I didn't want to be a hypocrite, AJ. I didn't want to speak in front of people about doing something, but yet when I go through it, through a challenge, I don't lean on that same thing. And that was, that was important to me, that I actually lived my values the best that I could. And I feel that that is what helped me start moving again, being able to stand up, being able to walk on my own again, being able to run again, being able to get back to life as it was prior and then some. So you're absolutely correct about what you said. This is why I'm so passionate about sharing the story.
Well, there's so, I mean, listen, you really are a miracle, right? Everything from your son being in the room to the bounce back. Let me ask you this question, because you mentioned, you're thinking about your mom, your grandma, and to me, it's clear that life's priorities quickly changed for you, right? Where you're worried about going to the gym or, something maybe superficial. And now all of a sudden you're learning how to move your left leg. It's a crazy difference. What did that do for the people, do to or for the people around you? What was your circle like and what were they going through when all this was happening? Clearly you can't work, right? You say you didn't work for a year, right? So I gotta imagine finances, were impacted by this. Family and friends around you, walk.
Well, let me tell you, man, I was, first of all, I was extremely blessed. So even when I was off work, I wasn't out of work. I was still getting paid. So again, we again talk for another hour or two, because there's so many nugget drops into my story, man. But let me just say this: when it did come to my surroundings, people were absolutely shocked that something like this would happen to me. Considering, again, I was a guy that I was going to the gym all the time. I showcased and I lived a decent lifestyle. I poured into people. I gave. I served. I was doing all these things, and so people couldn't believe that someone that looked like me, maybe physically looked good, that something like that could happen. What I am happy to say is that I really saw people show up for me. And that told me something about myself, AJ, that sometimes we look internally and we think that either we're not worthy because we know some of the things that we thought or said or did. We think that our light isn't shining, but it absolutely was. There were lots of people who came up to the hospital to visit me over those 2 weeks in the actual hospital, then another 2 to 3 weeks at the rehab hospital as well, just to see family, friends show up. And everybody was like, just shocked, man. How can this happen to you? So, but I also heard a lot of people say, and I know we say this to people all the time, you're going to be all right. You're going to come back from this and that. But the confidence in people's eyes or face when they said that to me, like, you can do this. If anybody can do this, Terrance, it's you. I mean, and hearing stories of me sharing with them something in the past while they were going through something, and they're going, you encouraged me when this happened to me, or when this happened to you, or when such passed away. And therefore, I know, what you have in you is going to help you come back. AJ, that felt the best. Knowing how people really perceive you. They may not tell you all the time, but a lot of times when you land on your back or you go through something, people kind of pour out what they really think about you, or if they really, really pissed off, right? They really let you know what they think about you, right? But so that felt good, man. But yeah, I had so much support, and I was shocked by it, and but I was thankful, man, that I had made that type of mark amongst my associates, that people would rally and come visit me, man, and pray for me, sing over my bed, you name it, man. And again, so many nugget drops, so many stories we can go into. We definitely have to do this again for sure.
Let's go. Well, listen, I'm already thinking right now, brother. I feel like obviously you're already doing some speaking engagements. I feel like maybe we just need to have you inside of the app, right? And maybe do a little talk for everybody where it's just you, talking through some of this stuff. Obviously, it's great to see you back on your feet, doing well, thriving, surviving. We already kind of talked a little bit about some of that stuff that's happened. So let's after we come back from this break, let's go ahead and wrap up by talking about what that comeback actually looked like for you and what we got to look forward to. So we'll do that right after this break. All right, we're back with Terrance Miracle Minnoy, and it's been an incredible story so far. I know that obviously that people know that you're okay now. You're here with us, but let's do this. Let's kind of segue into the comeback journey itself, right? We talked about mentally what you were doing, prepare yourself, prepare your body for the comeback. You're documenting your journey. Now you're on this journey. What does that journey look like? How long did it take you? And we'll go from there.
Awesome. So from the first day I went into the hospital to the day that I walked out of the rehabilitation hospital when they sent me home was about 5 weeks total. So in that time, first day when I got home, first of all, I knew I couldn't go back to work, obviously. And of course, with work, you have a certain amount of time to be on what's called short-term disability before it goes into long-term disability. Luckily for me, man, I was blessed. A lot of lessons during that time as well. We're going to talk about those at some point, sometime in the future. But what that looked like for me was that since I couldn't go to the gym, I couldn't drive right away. So they took my license away, which is custom when a person has a stroke. And so I made sure that since I couldn't go to the gym for the very first time, I actually bought a weight set for my home. So during those 5 weeks, and I left the main hospital I had, what's called the rehabilitation, and what's called outpatient rehabilitation, which meant I went to a center and then they put me through some therapy. But you also have to take the onus on yourself to, work on things even when you're not in a rehabilitation environment. And so I bought weight for myself. I started eating better, less sugar. By the way, they believe the cause of the stroke was a small hole in my heart. And so I started drinking a lot more water, less sugar, do my best to do less carbs, a lot of weight training at home, a lot of the exercises they were having me do in the rehabilitation hospital and at the outpatient rehabilitation. Really started just practicing just doing those exercises over and over and over. And to overcome a stroke or any type of situation where your nerves are damaged and you can't move like you did before, the way you do that is through repetition. So you keep squeezing the tennis ball all day, or you keep, raising your leg over and over and over. Why? Because your nerves will create different new pathways to get to where they need to get to. The human body is phenomenal. So you would have what's called neurospasticity. These nerves will just create new ways to do what they're supposed to do. And I would just keep practicing, man. I would just do the same thing over and over, repeatedly every single day. Take a break here and there and really get back to it. But I just tried to put my body in motion as much as I could. Luckily, when I did leave the rehabilitation hospital, I was able to walk with a cane. So I walked with a cane for a couple weeks as well. But then eventually, just things started improving where I started walking without a cane. And I was able to start jogging a little bit. I can remember a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, actually saw me doing some what I call the dark work. And what I mean by the dark work is stuff that you do on your own. When you really putting that work in, AJ. Here it was, not I was in my own world to come back, and I was jogging, just jogging. It was almost like maybe a little bit past dawn, a little dark. But my best buddy of mine, he is a CHP officer, so he goes to work early. So I had my headphones on. I'm just doing, I mean, I'm going slow, but I'm moving, AJ. But to hear him honking, and then get my attention and give me the thumbs up, man, it encouraged me so much, AJ. But here I was doing the dark work, man, when nobody can see, nobody's around. And isn't that so? I know we're going to talk about that in a second, man. That's life, man. It's doing that work when you're not getting accolades. Nobody can see you. You're not posting it. You're just going to work. And that just encouraged me more. So it was a lot of that during that rehabilitation stage. I finally got to a point, AJ, was I was able to trot on a treadmill. I remember going days and days doing that. And finally, AJ, get to a point where I can run at like 3 miles an hour. That, even got up to like 8.5, 9 miles an hour for like 30 seconds. Like just really getting back, man. Had a little limp with it, but it was coming back, man. So during that time, man, it was just work, work, work. Another thing it was, AJ, I did the best I could to continue to serve as much as I could. I just felt like me giving back or me sharing a positive word or making sure that my tithe still got to church or giving some clothes away, whatever it was, AJ, I just felt like the more I did that, the better I felt. And I know it sounds cliche, and I used to think it was cliche and, it's BS, but I mean, it really is real, man. When you give to the world, things just happen for you, man. They just do. And same thing, even what you're doing right now, man, your podcast, your audience, giving to your audience, not this big expectation, not asking for something back all the time, but you just taking time out of your schedule. When you're probably dealing with, so you probably got some stuff going on, but you still it comes back to you, man. So I'm a firm believer in that. Of course, when I'm on stage, man, I try to make sure I don't cross that line with some audiences, of course, but I think you know exactly how I feel, what I mean by that, right? Give, man. I have a chapter in my book, Indifferent Strokes, called, I believe it's called Give on Your Back. No. Give it away, give it away, give it away. Like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, give it away, give it away, give it away. Now, it's basically, when you're on your back, give. When you're in a tough situation, give. That's going to help you rise. So I hope I answered your question, man.
Well, man, this is your show, man. I'm just here. I'm just taking it all in. So this rehabilitation period, it's clear that it wasn't just some overnight success story, right? And I think that's sometimes what we get frustrated with is how long the process is taking, right? Is there an insight to the process? You talk about jogging, and then being able to get to 2, 3 on the treadmill and stuff like that. The whole process as a whole, how long would you say that was from the time that you're in the hospital bed to the time where you felt like I'm back?
First thing I'll say is that any stroke survivor knows or heard a doctor say recovering from a stroke is lifelong. And it really is, man. People can't tell, but I still deal with, some small residual effects of that. But to answer your question specifically, I would say 18 months to 2 years before I felt kind of normal. I felt good, but as far as feeling like I'm Terrance, I'm back, about 2 years. And I'll say 2 years because I missed 2 seasons of refereeing basketball because this happened right in the middle of basketball season in 2015. This when I was, refereeing. And I didn't go back to officiating basketball till maybe 2017, 2018, when I just felt like, okay, I can move, and not feel any type of resistance or being afraid of falling, losing my balance and things like that, because those are the things that were affected in my life. So I would say about 2 years, man, before I really kind of got my groove and got my rhythm. I will say this though, AJ, mentally though, maybe 9 months mentally, but physically and able to actually put it all together. It took a couple years though to really bounce back and feel like, Terrance.
And we're glad you're back, brother.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate the words, man. Every kind, man, I don't take any kind word from anybody uh, for granted, man. I know I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed to still be here. Matter of fact, the miracle, since we're on this topic, the miracle comes from the fact that my friends would see me during my recovery process and say, man, you're a walking miracle. You're a walking miracle. I'll just hear that so much. And so now it's come to a point where some people just call me Miracle. I mean, they just know me as that now, you know? And it feels good, man, because it's not a pompous type of thing. That's a real story behind this, you know?
Right.
And I'm happy about that. I really feel like this situation, I know this sounds crazy, was icing on the cake. And what I mean by that is here I was, I have this message. I mean, I've always had this message of positivity, you know, climbing the ladder, whether it's corporate business, whatever, all these positive things to get to the next level in life. I feel like God allowed this to happen to me. My Job moment, as I would call it, allowed this to happen to me so I can actually practice and be authentic, you know, when I share things with people, you know. So he just said, hey, your story is great. You have a great message inside of you. I want you to share this at some particular time. But you know what? Let me throw something a little on top of this now. Let me allow this to happen to you, allow you to bounce back and come through. And now you can really share, you know, my power, right? And it can really share me personally, my resilience to be able to share that with other people and come back and come through authentically because I have a story to back it up. Like even when people question my, you know, nobody's questioning my stroke. But people have said, because they see me now, they see me on stage, they see me doing everything I do. They go, oh, you must have a minor stroke. And they go, well, I wouldn't say a minor stroke. Here's a video. Here's some pictures. And they go, oh my God, I can't believe it. They can't believe it. And as a matter of fact, when I take the stage, AJ, there's a 1-minute video that shows usually beforehand that shares the story a little bit. And the reason why I do that is because if I just walked up on stage and just told people what happened, a lot of people wouldn't believe it. They would, or I would say they wouldn't believe me. They would think that, again, it was something small, you know, nothing big. But once they see the video of me, you know, learning to walk again and all these different things, then they go, oh, wow. So that really sets the audience's stage to receive what I have to share and understand that I've been through some things and I know how to navigate, or I've learned how to navigate through some things. And hey, I can help you too. Hey, not just physically, mentally, career-wise, all these different things. I can help you in those areas too, because guess what? I'm doing that too. So yeah.
Amazing. So let's do this to wrap up, man. Give me some keys for this entire process, whether it's the key to the comeback, key to the mental side of things, whatever it is that you want to share. And then any takeaways that you like for the fellow Kings that are listening to this show right now. What do you want them to take away from this for whatever they're going through on their own?
Thank you for that question, man. That's a great question. Here's number one. This is what I share with people all the time, and I share with audiences. The first point that I make is to have a sense of urgency about your life. Stop thinking that you have all of this time or that you know how much time that you have, because you never know. It was Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, life is like a checkerboard and the player opposite you is time. The player opposite you is time. And if you neglect to move or move promptly, your men will be wiped off the board by time. You're playing against an opponent that will not tolerate indecision. What I take away from that, AJ, is that if we don't move and take action, okay, time keeps going. Time doesn't tolerate you being indecisive. It's going to keep going. And you're going to miss out on opportunities. you're going to miss out on goals. You're going to miss out on the chance to change somebody's life or your own life, or to maximize the potential that you have in your life because you're sitting around being indecisive, or you're sitting around going, oh, I'll do that next year, or I'll do that another day. What this stroke taught me was that I better get to it now versus later.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm trying to change my life and be excellent, I don't want to do it. I don't want to start next year. Let me start today. Even when I get up during the day, what one step can I take today that's going to help me be excellent? Well, I thought about being on your podcast, and I knew we're recording this today. How can I bring the best self? How can I show up the best? Well, hey, let me make sure I get up and, hey, shave my head, make sure I look good. Let me go for a walk. Let me get a little workout in. Let me get a little prayer in. You get what I'm saying? I want to be excellent. So, sense of urgency. That's what I want people, the first thing I want people to take away. Second thing I always want people to take away is to understand that we are involved, or we think a certain way that is holding us back. And that we need to break up with some of the ways that maybe haven't served us the best. And I know that's not always easy to do, and it's a process, but it's something that we have to do in areas of our life, whether it's personal, business, career, you building your platform. There are things that maybe, you say, I need to pivot a little bit. I need to do this different. I need to break up with that. It was a prime example of that, why breakup was so important. I took that from a stroke. The doctor said the clot hit me in my brainstem. She said if it stayed there, that you would probably be dead or paralyzed. You wouldn't be where you are right now, Terrance. She said, but luckily, that clot actually broke up and it moved a couple times. And because of that, you are where you are today. So I asked the doctor, I said, are you telling me that a breakup was a good thing? And she said, absolutely right. Isn't that so true in our lives, man? Sometimes, and we're not just talking about the breaking up with a girlfriend or whatever, right? Sometimes that's a good thing for her and you, right? But sometimes, man, we need to break up with some of the processes, the way we think, the way we go about our actions to make things happen. We need to stop hustling backwards and to be on the front foot, right? So, second thing I always say on this is, break up with some of the habits, mindset, activities that may be holding us back. See, some people don't recognize it because they're still having success. They still having success, so they go, oh, I'm fine. I don't do that, AJ. I'm having success in my life, but every day I'm thinking about or if I do drop the ball, AJ, I'm going, man, that wasn't a good move right there. Yeah, I'm living in a nice house, got a nice career, I make good money, blah, 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 blah. Man, that wasn't a good look right there, T. No, that wasn't good. I'm always kind of recalibrating. I think that's something we have to do. Number 3, the main final thing that I share with people, bro. It almost relates to number 2, but it's a little bit different. And I feel like we all have these blind spots in our lives that cause us to miss it, that cause us to hustle back. A blind spot in my life that I've had since a youth, and I still work on it to this day. I have a tendency to have blinders on and just be here. But yet all my victories in life has been because I've had a little wider view. I had a blind spot right there that, again, I still work on. I share this with audiences, AJ. I'll have someone stand up and I'll have them put up their left hand. And I'll say, they'll put up their left hand, and I'll let the audience know that as I'm looking at that person in their eye, I cannot see their left hand. I can't see it. I'm looking at them. They're holding it up, AJ. I can't see it because it's in my blind spot, because my blind spot is activated. As a matter of fact, as we're doing this podcast, okay, my peripheral isn't the best. I have to look at you. A lot of times I'm looking straight into the camera. Like right now, I'm looking straight into the camera. I can barely see you. Barely. But it's because I have a blind spot. So this is what I share with audiences, right? The reason why I've had these blind spots is because of pride, lack of coaching, different things that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing behind closed doors, maybe. a number of things that cause us to have these blind spots. How do you uncover those blind spots? I always let people know the first thing you do is start serving other people. Self-reflection, looking within yourself and realize that there are things that you might be missing that could probably take your life to the next level. Me being so here, I did okay. But once I started thinking about other people and how my story can serve other people and not just thinking about the money and things like that, my life just started getting better. It's because, again, I had a blind spot. That's just one example. So if if you have or you recognize blind spots in your life, do what you can to uncover them. And sometimes it is listening to a podcast like this, getting a coach or mentor, maybe in your relationship, maybe you pick from the wisdom of your partner. There are different things that we can do to uncover those blind spots. So those are three of the main things that I talk about from stage and lessons that I've taken away in my life from the strokes that have a direct parallel to the stroke. So I let people know, look, the book I wrote, it's not a stroke book. When I talk, it's not a stroke talk. It's the parallels that came from that situation that can benefit me, you, anybody else in their lives if they're open to the ideas. It's funny. Sometimes I start out my talk by just making sure everybody, I even have them chant, keep an open mind. That's what I want you to do. I want you to keep an open mind because I'm going to paint a story. I'm going to paint something for you, but I want you to get something from this. But stay with me on this. Keep an open mind to get there. So I can go on and on, AJ, man. Whatever we want to know, I can tell you more. But those are three main takeaways, man, from that situation that I give to everybody that I talk to. Even my daughter, 16 years old.
Brother, that's fantastic. This is fantastic, man. That was exactly what I was looking for. I appreciate that. So,
yes, sir.
All right, here's where we're at. We've had a bounce back in a big, big way. You've given us some cool takeaways. I don't want to say cool, but these are powerful takeaways.
Cool too, yes, sir.
Yeah, we could say cool. You've written a book.
Yes.
That will go into more detail, not just about what you went through, but also how you came up out of it. Yeah. Where can they get that book?
It's awesome, man. So people can go to Indifferent Strokes. I'm gonna hold the book up here. So this is a book that I wrote several years ago called Indifferent Strokes. And people can go to indifferentstrokesbook.com and order the book. I think it's like, wow, $15, $16. The good thing about that, if they go to the site and get it, no, of course, they can get it off Amazon, no problem. Thing is, if you go to Amazon and get it, I can't sign it for you. So if you get it from me, then I actually ship it to you and I actually sign the book. But again, indifferentstrokesbook.com. People can order it off my website as well, terranceminnoy.com. But honestly, most people get it off Amazon or they go to indifferentstrokesbook.com. And again, man, it's just a plethora of stories. It's some fun stuff in here, some funny stuff in here as well that people can take away that can really serve their lives. I got great feedback on this book. And it was self-published. I didn't have to go big or anything with it, but it's something that I give to audiences. And again, people can buy it, at my events as well. And matter of fact, I'm taking several with me tomorrow. I'll be speaking in Los Angeles and doing that. I'm excited about my next book too, though, but it's called Tin Man, basically strategies on leadership and self-mastery. The reason why I call it Tin Man is because our family matriarch, our big mom, my family, my nickname is Tin Man. As a matter of fact, my cousins who I grew up with, they know me as Tin Man. Some of them still call me that to this day. And it is taken from the character Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. And it's because if you met me, I'm very, my posture is very erect. My shoulders are back and this and that. And I used to run that way as well. And so anyway, she called me Tin Man. Everybody in my family knew me as Tin Man. So in honor of her, man, I wanted to entitle the book Tin Man. And, of course, with a subtitle. And that's going to drop some great, great nuggets on self-mastery, on leadership, and so forth and so on. So, man, I'm excited, man. And it's platforms like yours, where I can get my message out and do my part and serve the world in my lane. And if that lane grows, great. If it doesn't grow, that's fine. If I'm touching who I'm talking to, those handful of people, hey, man, I'm excited about it. So that's why I was excited to build on your podcast, man, because it's all about the comeback. And I've definitely made a masterful comeback, and I thank God for that. And I think people like yourself and other people have surrounded me in my life to be where I'm at right now, to lift me up, man. And thank you so much.
Brother, listen, the pleasure and the honor is all mine, really, to have you on here.
Yes,
So we've got 2 books. We're going to go ahead and link those in the description as well, so they can get the book. I just for my own pleasure, I need to see video of you running like the Tin Man. Like, I need you to send it to me. I also,
yeah, man. I've always, matter of fact, it's funny, AJ, I ran track. You know, you probably ran track when you were youth, man. You know, it's all about leaning forward and, you know, this and that, man. But I'm like this, you know what I'm saying? Because there's just the way I was made, man. It's crazy.
I need to get a copy of your book. So I'm going to definitely do that as well. And then also you've been mentioning that you're doing speaking engagements. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to do some speaking engagements, how would they do that?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. They could get a hold of me. They can go to my website, terranceminnoy.com. There is a place to submit. I believe I forgot what it says, so I can look at it, but contact me or something like that. There's a form that people fill out. You know, all the information about their event, their budget, and so forth and so on. They can get a hold of me there. They can get a hold of me at bookings at terranceminnoy.com, bookings at terranceminnoy.com. They get a hold of me there as well to possibly book me. And yeah, man, I'm open to different levels of their events as well, man. I don't say no to a whole lot of things unless it just really doesn't make sense as far as my messaging is concerned. But I speak to audiences and maybe 50 in the audience to, 5,000 in the audience. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not too big. I know that what I have to share can be a blessing to small and big audiences, different audiences. I'm always open. I'm always also I coach just a couple clients every quarter, every 6 months or so. I don't take on too many people just because I'm part-time. I just don't, I can be pulled in so many different directions when it comes to that. And so they can get a hold of me there as well. Bookings at terranceminnoy.com or just go to terranceminnoy.com. And hook me up.
Excellent, brother. And hopefully also they will be able to contact you inside of the app once we get you inside of the app.
Absolutely.
Can check out more behind the scenes of what Terrance has got going on. And I'm going to try to do my best to get into to do a motivational speech inside of the Comeback Kings apps. I'm saying this live on a podcast now, so now you're committed to it. So that's.
Hey, look, man. Whatever you need me to do to serve your platform, I'm definitely will make myself available to do that. Whatever you need, man. I'm humbled by it all, man. I'm humbled by my recovery. I'm humbled by my lifestyle now. I'm humbled by the fact that people, like you, have reached out to me to hear my story, to hear my nuggets, and I'm so thankful, man. And so that makes me even more available to you to serve you, man. So you just let me know what you need, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you, brother.
Yes,
all
sir.
right, fellas, and ladies, whoever's listening. Terrance Miracle Minnoy, man, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. Appreciate all the nuggets that you share with us. Congratulations on your comeback, and we know the best is still yet to come for you, brother.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for again having me. And again, man, I look forward to doing it again. So let me know whenever you need me, man. Thank you, brother.
It's on. It's all right. All right, guys. Until the next episode of the Comeback Kings podcast, I'm your host, Aaron James. We'll see you then. That does it for another episode of the Comeback Kings podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, and come join the after party inside the app at cbknetwork.com. And remember, your past doesn't define you. Your comeback will.